This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I never in a million years would have imagined that I would be doing a vlog on anything, let alone the hardest, most heart-wrenching, earth-shattering, soul-crushing journey I've ever been on. I'm not one to be vulnerable, so this is kind of terrifying, but here we go. My name's Abby, for those of you who don't follow me on Instagram. My husband's name is Ricky. We have two awesome little wiener dogs. There's one of them. The other one is sleeping, thank God. We have been together for just about 13 years and been trying to get pregnant for just about 6. We were young and dumb. To put it simple, we believed what we were told in school, that all you have to do is have sex and you're pregnant the first time, right? You know, sneeze too close and oh, someone's pregnant. Yeah. Well, that's not how it worked with us. Not at all. We thought we would get pregnant right away. So when I was diagnosed with endometriosis 6 years ago, my doctor and I sat down and talked, and we agreed surgery was not a good option for me. I make scar tissue like it is nobody's business. So we were worried that had we gone in and removed the endometriosis, that my body would then build more scar tissue than there was endometriosis at the time. So we agreed that I would basically try and get pregnant. Obviously, I talked to my husband. My doctor and I did not make that decision by ourselves. My husband was on board. We had always talked about having kids. We wanted to be young parents, like 20, 21. We were together since we were, 17 and 18. So that was very possible. It could have been, it was realistic at the time, to put it simply. So we immediately stopped birth control of all kinds and started trying to get pregnant. And when a few months went by and nothing was happening, we started the ovulation test. Well, I started, and I was ovulating like clockwork. I was getting positive tests, like I could tell you when I was going to get them. We were doing timed intercourse. We were still going to see the gynecologist, just, what's going on? This isn't working. They told us to keep going. And then our best friends told us about the clinic they went to. No, just kidding. Our gynecologist told us about a clinic, a fertility specialist that we should go and see, and see what he says. So that's what we did. We went and saw this guy. He ordered a bunch of blood work, a bunch of ultrasounds, an HSG, which was horrible, and it kind of went downhill from there. He ordered blood work for both my husband and I, and also a semen analysis. While I was doing my HSG, which, being extremely new to this whole world and not understanding really much of what infertility was, other than not getting pregnant, and how much there was involved in getting pregnant, more than just go have sex. We, for lack of better words, I guess, were completely taken for a ride. We were taken advantage of, and they knew it. The clinic, without going into extreme detail, he performed an unconsented tubal opening on me during my HSG, which later found out my tubes weren't closed at all. And just, I don't even have words. The whole situation makes me so mad, I'm already shaking. So after dealing with him, that doctor, for I think it was 3 weeks or a month it took to get all the tests and everything done, Towards the end of dealing with him, our friends had told us about a clinic they had used. So we went and saw a doctor there, and she was great. She told us that since the other clinic already had like one last test that needed to be done, she's like, just do it with him. That way insurance isn't going to throw a fit, whatever. So we did. Then I had all the records transferred over, and she really wasn't seeing an issue in anything until that clinic's records, and that what she was seeing from that clinic just didn't seem right. So we came up with a plan to do some IUIs, unmedicated, because I was ovulating regularly. All my hormones came back fine. All my ultrasounds looked fine. So we wanted to start kind of slow. So we did 3 IUIs, only with trigger injections. Thank God, because I hate needles. And each round of IUIs, we did 2 inseminations, one day after the other. So I guess 6 IUIs. And they all failed, which was probably our first huge reality check. We really had the rug pulled out from under us on that, and it was no longer when we get pregnant, but if. And being, I was 24, 25 years old, and not just having that knowing that I'm going to have kids, that destroyed me. This whole situation wasn't hard enough. We weren't telling like anybody. My parents knew only because at that point I was on their insurance, so they were going to see all the bills. And our best friends knew because they told us about the clinic. No one else knew. Which we did for a reason. I mean, we thought that it would be easier if nobody knew. Then we weren't being asked, you know, how's it going? Did that work? We wouldn't feel so much like we were under the magnifying glass. And we wouldn't, I guess, have to talk about it. And for the first, I think 2, maybe 3 years, I think it was 3 years, that's how it was. There were 4 people on earth that knew, besides us. That just made a lonely journey so much worse, and we had no idea that we were doing it to ourselves. So for my 27th birthday, I decided that I didn't want to keep it a secret anymore. So I talked with Ricky, and he agreed that it's whatever I was comfortable with. He was worried about me and how I was going to handle everyone knowing. So he said whatever I wanted to do. So for my 27th birthday, I kind of freed myself by taking some of this weight off my shoulders, because till I have a child in my arms, that fertility weight will always be there. But it helped. It helped a lot. We have a lot of family and friends who are extremely supportive, and we can't thank them enough. So if you're in our shoes when we were keeping it quiet, talk about it, please, to anybody. It does help. You never know who is going through it, or who has been through it, or who is just there enough to listen if they haven't been. Talking about it has helped tremendously in ways I would have never imagined. So after we had the 3 failed rounds of IUIs, our clinic said that they won't do another one. That they would recommend us to a clinic to do IVF, but that was as much as they could do. So when our clinic told us that we would have to, our next steps were IVF, I immediately, and I'm pretty sure my husband, immediately flashed back to our first clinic and Dr. K, the one that did my HSG and tubal opening. After he was done with the HSG and that nightmare of a situation, told us to meet him in his office and we would talk options. Okay. I was in more pain than I think I've ever been in my life. I would rather go through all 7 of my knee surgeries over again than having another HSG like that. It was horrible. It took everything I had in me, 1, to walk, and 2, to not throw up all over his desk. Which, thinking back, I probably should have. But anyways, as we were sitting at his desk, I'm trying not to barf all over him, Dr. K proceeds to tell us that the only way we will ever get pregnant or have a chance of even getting pregnant is if we do IVF with ICSI. Now, we've been doing this long enough that we have an idea of what IVF is. We know what it is. We just don't know what all it entails. We have an idea of how ungodly expensive it is. And we have no flippin' clue what ICSI is. So he proceeds to break everything down. Gives us an explanation, tells us the IVF alone is this much, the ICSI is this much, the drugs are this much. Breaks it all down real nice. Then adds it all up and tells us that he wants $36,000 for a 32% chance of us getting pregnant. $36,000? That's more than my car. And you're going to proceed to tell me this after you just performed an unconsented procedure on me? Something's not right here. So after that, we were done, and any mention from anybody telling us that we needed to do IVF, we would flash back to that like instantly, and we would just hear $36,000 over and over again in our head, and I don't have $36,000 sitting in the bank, sadly. But, you know. So, we went home and we talked. Obviously, IVF wasn't an option, so we decided that we were still going to continue to try naturally. We were doing everything we could at home, you know, the pre-seeds, ovulation tests, the storks, you name it. We probably tried it. And after, I think, another 2 years of trying on our own, I was told about another clinic, the clinic that we're at now, and that this doctor was like one of the top rated fertility doctors, I think, in the world. If not, I know for sure in the country, but I'm pretty sure in the world. So I was like, well, let's go see what he says. Maybe he'll look at all the paperwork, do some tests, and maybe he'll tell us something different. Why not? Worth a try. So we went and saw him. Oh, and he told us something different. That's for sure. He told us some of the things that Dr. K told us were wrong with my husband's blood work and his analysis. Weren't there. It was bullshit. So that was a relief. Infuriating, but a relief. He ordered more tests, and he said everything looked fine, but we would probably need to continue with IVF. So again, we don't have, $20,000, $30,000 sitting in the bank. So we said that we will, see what we can do. We'll go home, talk, see about maybe financing, and go from there. Well, went home and shit kind of hit the fan real quick with other family members and their health. So I was out of town a lot for about 6 months, helping to take care of some family members. So it didn't really happen. Then after we had buried my aunt, we came home, and 2 weeks later, my husband and I moved out of state for work. And that kept us, I don't want to say nicely distracted, but it was kind of a welcome distraction to not be constantly worrying about trying to get pregnant and what day of the cycle I was in, or if I needed to be taking a test or whatever, any tracking. There was none of it, and it was kind of nice. So when we moved into our place, we got settled, and again, figured we would start trying naturally. Everybody at this point was like, oh, you're gonna get pregnant right away. It's so, you're away from everything. It's gonna be so much less stress. You guys are gonna be pregnant in a couple months. Part of me believed it. Part of me was praying that was true, because how great would that be? And after 6 months, it still hadn't happened. 7 months, still hadn't happened. 9 months, still hadn't happened. And at this point, I was getting to a very unhealthy spot mentally because of infertility. So one night, I looked at Ricky and I said, I can't do it anymore, that it's not healthy. And that if we're not pregnant by my birthday, so that would have been, 3 months of trying, that I had to stop. I turned 30 and I wasn't pregnant. And it was, I think, a day or two before my birthday, I came across this quote, and it was, if you quit now, then what were you even trying for? Something along those lines. And it just hit me so deep. It couldn't have been any more right. If I hadn't just gone through the last 5.5 years of everything to give up without having our family, without having a child, it made me feel really dumb for even thinking of quitting. So the next day, I got an email from our fertility clinic, and they're part of an IVF research study that will essentially cover like 95% of the cost of IVF if we're part of this research study. And they said, if you're interested, email back. It wasn't 3 minutes later, I had sent an email. I want more information. I want in. What do I need to do? It was just timing. It was, January 29th. My birthday is February 2nd. So 3 days before our quit date, we get this email. Hey God, I see you. I get it. So a couple days later, I got an email back from the clinic saying, hey, as long as you're within this age, this weight, you haven't done, a bunch of stuff, and we fit the criteria. Not one thing was even close to being a question. Let's go. So they said, all right, you fit the criteria. Next step is to call, make an appointment to do a consultation and to update some of your records. Perfect. No problem. So we jumped in way into the deep end real quick. We understood right away that we weren't going to get this opportunity again, and we sure as hell were not going to pass it up if it was in our control. So we travel a lot, but that's okay. I will take every mile, every hour in the car, every gas stop, everything. If we get this, it would be such an answered prayer, a dream come true, life-changing. So here we are, day of our phone consult, where I'm pretty sure doctor is going to say yay or nay whether we get to do the study or not. We're gonna find out today. So hopefully doctor will call and say, you got it, let's start. And we're jumping in. But thank you for all of your positive thoughts and prayers. We are going to do our best to keep everybody informed as to what's going on. I am definitely going to try and get better with pictures and little videos and keeping you guys in on our journey as much as possible. We, as a couple, really suck at that. We are not good with, cameras, basically. So it is something I'm going to work on. Even though my husband is ridiculously camera shy, I'm at least going to try and get him to take pictures and videos of things that are going on with me. And if you ever see him on one of these videos, you better go buy a lottery ticket, because the leprechaun is out. I don't know how else to put it. It's going to be like everybody's lucky day. So keep praying. Keep praying. And I will be recording our phone call, because hopefully it's going to be good news. But you guys will see one way or another. Well, just got an email from the woman in charge of the study. We don't qualify.